If you tilt your head back right now and find that the ringing in your ears suddenly changes pitch or gets louder, you aren't dealing with a hearing problem. You are dealing with a wiring error between your neck and your brain. This is what we call somatic tinnitus, and it means your auditory nerve is picking up stray electrical signals from the muscles in your upper cervical spine. Your brain is essentially eavesdropping on your neck. When those muscles get tight, they leak electricity, and your brain interprets that leak as a high-pitched hiss or a constant roar. There is a specific cervical switch located where the base of your skull meets the first vertebra of your neck. If this switch is stuck in the on position due to poor posture or chronic tension, no amount of white noise or eardrops will ever stop the sound. You have to physically flip the switch to off by recalibrating the tension in your suboccipital muscles. We are going to start with the first movement immediately, because your auditory cortex needs a new signal to focus on right now to break the feedback loop. Find the two hard bumps at the back of your head, just above where the hair starts. Place your thumbs right under those bumps and apply firm pressure while slowly tucking your chin toward your chest. You might feel a sharp, radiating sensation toward your forehead, or even a slight change in the frequency of the ringing. This is the first movement of the cervical switch protocol. You are manually decompressing the nerves that share a pathway with your hearing system. Most people spend their lives looking at screens, which forces these tiny muscles to work 10 times harder than they were designed to. This constant strain creates a noisy environment for the brain. By performing this chin tuck with suboccipital release, you are telling your brain that the threat from the neck has subsided. But you have to understand that this physical release is only half of the story. While you are resetting the mechanical tension, your nerves still need the chemical protection to stop the electrical leakage for good. This is where a targeted internal repair strategy becomes your best friend. If you want to see exactly how to rebuild the insulation on those leaking nerves so the silence actually sticks, you need to check out the synaptic repair protocol at the first link in the description. As you continue that first movement, pay attention to the sternocleidomastoid muscle, that thick band that runs from behind your ear down to your collarbone. This is the primary culprit in almost every case of somatic tinnitus. It sits directly over the pathways that lead to your inner ear. When it's tight, it physically pulls on the temporal bone, distorting the way your ear processes vibrations. The second movement in our protocol is the lateral SCM glide. You aren't going to just stretch it, you are going to glide the fascia. Turn your head 45 degrees to the right, then slowly tilt your left ear toward your left shoulder. You should feel a long, thin line of tension opening up right behind your ear. This is where the magic happens. You are opening up the space for blood flow to reach the cochlea. Tinnitus thrives in a starved environment. When your neck is a clogged pipe, your ears can't get the oxygen they need to stay quiet. This glide opens the pipe. Many of you have noticed that the ringing is worse in the morning or after a long day at a desk. That's because your neck hasn't moved in hours, and the cervical switch has become rusted in the active position. This second movement helps to grease the gears. But let's be honest with each other for a second. If your body is in a state of high inflammation from stress or a poor diet, these muscles will just tighten back up in 20 minutes. You can't just fix the hardware if the software and the fuel are corrupted. The reason some people get instant relief from these movements and others don't often comes down to the health of the myelin sheath, the rubber coating on your nerves. If that coating is thin, the neck tension will always trigger the noise. To truly silence the ghost signals, you need to feed your nerves the lipids and antioxidants they are starving for. The second link in the description shows you the exact formula to re-insulate your auditory system from the inside out, so these neck movements actually provide permanent relief. The third movement is the atlas rotation, and it is the most delicate but effective part of the sequence. Your atlas is the very first bone in your spine, sitting right underneath your brainstem. It is surrounded by a dense forest of sensors that tell your brain where your head is in space. If the atlas is slightly misaligned, or the muscles around it are spasming, it sends a constant stream of junk data to the brain. The brain gets overwhelmed and starts to project that junk data as sound. For this movement, keep your head perfectly level, as if you have a bowl of water on top of your head. Slowly rotate your head just 1 inch to the left, then 1 inch to the right. It's a tiny micro movement. You aren't trying to see behind you. You are trying to wake up the deep stabilizers. This micro-movement specifically targets the nerves that communicate directly with the DCN, or the dorsal cochlear nucleus. This is the part of your brain that acts as the volume knob for your hearing. By gently rotating the atlas, you are manually turning the volume knob down. Think of your tinnitus as a smoke alarm that won't stop going off. Most people are trying to fan the smoke away, or cover the alarm with a pillow. These three movements are like going to the circuit breaker and resetting the power. But a circuit breaker only works if the wiring isn't fried. If your auditory nerves have been under assault for years, they are fried. They are hypersensitive and prone to short-circuiting at the slightest bit of neck tension. This is why you need a comprehensive approach. You do the movements to reset the switch, but you also use the internal repair protocol to rewire the house. Without the internal support, the switch will just flip back on the next time you feel stressed. You deserve a life where you don't have to think about your ears every 5 minutes. You can start that journey today by combining these three movements with the clinical grade strategy found at the link in the description. You might feel a bit lightheaded or floaty after doing these rotations. This is a sign that your vestibular system, the balance center in your ear, is finally getting new information. The ears and the neck are practically roommates. What happens to one affects the other. When you release the atlas tension, you are also relieving pressure on the vestibular nerve. This is why many people with tinnitus also suffer from bouts of dizziness or brain fog. It's all connected to the same cervical switch. When the switch is off, the brain can finally process space and sound correctly again. You'll find that your focus improves, your vision might even feel sharper, and that crushing weight at the base of your skull starts to lift. I've seen people who have suffered for 10 years find their first moment of silence just by releasing the tension in their suboccipitals. It's not a miracle, it's just physics. If you change the input, you change the output. The problem is that most of the medical world ignores the neck when it comes to hearing. They look inside the ear with a light and tell you everything looks fine, then send you home with a just get used to it speech. But they aren't looking at the fuses in your neck. They aren't looking at the way your posture is literally screaming into your auditory nerve. You have the power to change this. These three movements are your starting point. They are the keys to the kingdom of silence. But you have to be consistent. You have to do them every day, multiple times a day, to convince your brain that the threat is gone for good. As you move through these exercises, notice if you are clenching your teeth. The jaw and the neck work together as a single functional unit. If your jaw is tight, your neck cannot relax, and your cervical switch will stay locked. While you do the lateral SCM glide, let your bottom jaw hang slightly loose. Let there be a small gap between your teeth. This disconnects the jaw signal from the neck signal, allowing the auditory nerve to finally experience a moment of zero input. That moment of zero input is what we are chasing. It's the reset point, where the brain realizes it doesn't need to create the ringing anymore. The reality of somatic tinnitus is that it is a learned behavior by the brain. Your brain has learned to listen to the neck. To unlearn this, you have to provide a clean environment for long enough that the brain forgets the old habit. This is where the ClickBank resource I keep mentioning becomes vital. It provides the neural coolant your brain needs to stop the inflammatory fire that keeps the noise habit alive. Think of it as the grease that allows the switch to stay in the off position. Without it, you are fighting an uphill battle against your own biology. You can find the third and most important call to action at the link in the description. This is the final piece of the puzzle that turns a temporary hush into a permanent silence. Do not ignore the chemical side of this equation. It is the difference between coping and curing. Consistency is where most people fail. They do the movements once, feel a tiny bit better, and then forget about it until the ringing gets loud again. You have to be proactive. Set a timer on your phone for every 2 hours. Spend just 60 seconds doing a chin tuck, an SCM glide, and an atlas rotation. You are performing maintenance on your nervous system. You are teaching your brain a new language, the language of silence. Every time you do these movements, you are shaving down the volume of the ringing. It's like a sculptor working on a block of marble. You don't get the statue in one day. You get it through 10,000 tiny chips. The ghost signal in your head is a liar. It's telling you that your hearing is dying, but in reality, your neck is just shouting. When you understand this, the fear disappears. And when the fear disappears, the cortisol levels in your body drop. Since cortisol makes your nerves more sensitive, this drop in stress naturally lowers the volume of the tinnitus. It's a beautiful, positive feedback loop that starts with the physical movements we practice today. You are taking control of the hardware. You are taking control of the switch. One final detail about the cervical switch: it is highly sensitive to the position of your tongue. While you are doing the protocol, make sure the tip of your tongue is resting gently against the roof of your mouth, just behind your front teeth. This is the neutral position for the cranial nerves. It helps to stabilize the front of the neck, providing a solid anchor for the SCM glides. It might seem like a small thing, but in the world of neurology, the small things are the cervical switch itself. Every millimeter of movement matters. Every breath matters. You now have the 3 most powerful physical tools for stopping somatic tinnitus. You have the suboccipital release to hit the reset, the SCM glide to open the pipes, and the atlas rotation to turn the volume knob. This is the external work. Now, it is up to you to do the internal work. Don't leave your nerves exposed and leaking. Give them the insulation they need to stay quiet in a noisy world. Go to the link in the description, get the repair protocol, and start the re-insulation process today. Your ears have been screaming for help. It's time you finally gave them what they need. The switch is in your hands. Flip it to off and finally enjoy the silence you've been missing. The ghost signal won't stand a chance once you've reinforced your system. Imagine waking up tomorrow and actually hearing the birds outside instead of the hiss in your skull. Imagine a dinner conversation where you don't have to strain to hear over the jet engine in your head. This isn't a dream. It's a biological possibility once you address the neck-ear connection. Stop being a victim of your anatomy and start being the engineer of your own silence. The protocol is ready, the movements are simple, and the internal support is just a click away. Let's make today the last day the noise wins. Think about how much energy you've wasted trying to ignore the sound. That energy can now be used for your life, your family, and your passions. Silence is the foundation of peace. By fixing the cervical switch, you are reclaiming that foundation. Take a deep breath, do one last chin tuck, and feel the space opening up at the base of your skull. That space is where the silence lives. Protect it. Nurture it with the right nutrients. Keep moving the neck. Keep flipping the switch. You are closer to the end of this journey than you think. Just keep going, stay consistent, and don't let the noise have the last word. You have the tools, you have the knowledge, and now you have the cervical switch. Use it wisely.